Today we're talking about what a man says when he's already involved with someone else. Maybe he doesn't tell you directly. Maybe he even denies it with all his might. But language doesn't lie. The body doesn't lie. And neither do the words, if you listen closely. And this isn't about becoming paranoid or seeing betrayal everywhere. It's about learning to see and hear with emotional maturity and courage. Because no blindness is worse than the kind that comes from the fear of losing someone. How many times have you told yourself, that can't be true? Maybe I'm overreacting. He's just stressed. Maybe I'm the problem. But no. Very often, what you feel is real. Because the heart senses what the mind hasn't yet processed. Because the soul knows. And sometimes this man, consciously or not, starts saying things like, I need space. I want to be alone for a while. It's not you, it's me. I don't know what I want. I'm confused. I need to find myself again. These phrases may sound thoughtful and mature, but often they're just a smokescreen, a graceful way to hide what has already happened. He's no longer with you, and often he's already with someone else. Not all men who say these things are with another woman, but many who are say exactly that. And that's the difference. A man who truly loves you doesn't confuse you. A man who genuinely wants you doesn't put you on hold. A man who's with you doesn't pull away without reason. And a man who respects you doesn't play games when he's already emotionally gone. And you feel it. In the silence, in the evasive glances, in a laugh that no longer resonates with yours, in how his phone becomes more important than your words. Suddenly there's no more time, no more interest, no more little gestures. And you wonder, when did everything change? And he says, nothing happened, but something did happen. And he won't say it, because that would mean it's over, and he's not ready to give up the comfort, not ready to face the consequences. He wants to keep you, but only halfway, while his heart drifts elsewhere, chasing new excitement, secretly comparing, lying to himself. And you begin to dim your light. You try harder to be fun. You avoid conflict. You forgive things you never would have tolerated before. You justify the unjust out of fear. Fear of losing him. Fear of being alone. Fear of confirming what deep down you already know. But dear friend, when someone leaves, they're already gone. Even if he still sleeps beside you, even if he kisses you mechanically, even if he says, I love you only out of habit, you don't deserve lukewarm love. You don't deserve love out of pity, routine, or convenience. You deserve a love that's brave, a love that shows up fully, clearly, wholeheartedly. Someone who doesn't have to think twice about whether he wants to be with you. Someone who doesn't ask for time to find something you've already given him. Because every time you hear phrases like, I need space, I don't know what I want, and excuse them, you drift further away from yourself. You betray yourself. You make yourself small. And I want to tell you something that maybe no one else has told you today. You are worth so much more than what you're currently accepting. You are not here to be an option, not to beg for attention or explain someone's absence. You are here to be chosen, with love, not with hesitation. And if a man is already with someone else, you'll know, not by what he says, but by what he no longer says, not by what he does, but by what he no longer does, by the way his soul no longer connects with yours. Don't look for obvious signs, then listen to yourself. Observe, not with paranoia, but with clarity. Your intuition isn't crazy, it's shaped by love, and also by pain. And if you recognize yourself in these words, maybe now is the time to pause. To stop chasing someone who's already walking a different path. To stop waiting for answers where there's only silence. To close the door with dignity before it gets slammed in your face. Because when a man says these kinds of things, when he repeats these phrases, avoids you, confuses and entangles you, it's often because he's already made a decision. And you have every right to make one too. Remember, being alone is not a failure. But being poorly accompanied, that is. Sometimes it's not what he says, but how he says it. The way he looks at you, the coldness behind every word, the numbness, the distance. Because when someone truly loves you, you can feel it, even in the middle of a crisis. But when someone is emotionally already with another woman, he starts to empty himself. He drains away his gestures, his intention, his meaningful words, and he begins to drain you. And you feel alone, even though he's still physically there. And that, my dear, is one of the worst kinds of loneliness, feeling alone next to someone. It's like screaming in an empty house, like knocking on a door, no one opens anymore. And I want you to say something to yourself now, quietly, if you like. I don't deserve to be with someone who doesn't even want to be here. Sometimes he doesn't leave physically, but his soul is already gone. His body stays, but his spirit doesn't. It's like a ghost sleeping next to you. Someone who once touched you gently, now touches you with indifference. Someone who once longed for you, held you, protected you, now barely notices you, and he says nothing, acknowledges nothing. But you know, because some truths aren't spoken, they are felt through silence, through distance, through coldness. I'm confused. I'm going through a tough time. I don't want to talk about it right now. And that's where the trap begins, because suddenly you become an emotional detective. You start checking his phone, wondering who he's talking to, questioning if that coworker is really just a coworker. You live on high alert, in fear, in doubt. And that's not love, that's anxiety. Healthy love doesn't make you afraid. Healthy love doesn't make you doubt yourself, doesn't push you into competition, doesn't leave you wondering every day if you're still enough. When a man is involved with another woman, you feel it, not just in physical distance, but in the absence of desire for you. And I don't just mean physical desire, I mean the desire to see you, to hear you, to know how you're doing, to care when something hurts you. When all of that is gone, when only cold silence, empty words and excuses remain, he's already emotionally gone. And sometimes he still believes he loves you, but he doesn't. He's caught between guilt and the excitement of something new, because the new feels thrilling, entertaining, distracting. But you are not new. And that doesn't mean you're worth less. It means he no longer sees the value of depth, because depth requires courage. Depth is uncomfortable. It demands presence and real commitment. And if he can't offer that, then you're not losing anything, you're saving yourself. And don't try to keep alive a relationship that only lives in your memory. Don't breathe in love that no longer has oxygen. Don't stay where you're no longer blooming. You weren't born to beg for love, not to plead for attention. You are here to be consciously loved, freely and with full presence. And if he is already with someone else, be grateful that you're seeing it now. Be grateful for the clarity, because better a painful truth than a lifetime built on lies. A woman who truly loves herself does not settle for maybe. She doesn't stay where there's no certainty. She doesn't put herself on pause, waiting to be chosen. You are not here to wait. You are here to live your life with dignity, self-love and courage. And if it hurts today, then cry. Cry as much as you need, but don't stay stuck. Because on the other side of this pain lies your freedom. And that freedom, even though it hurts at first, is the medicine your soul needs. Do you know what the worst thing you could do is? Waiting for him to change. Hoping he'll go back to how he used to be. Trying to fix something that's already broken beyond repair. No, my love, don't do that. Don't destroy yourself trying to save something he's already tearing apart. Don't reshape yourself to fit into a heart that has already taken a new shape. Because even if he comes back, if he hasn't changed, he'll hurt you again. Remember this, excuses aren't love. Absence isn't love. Confusion isn't love. Real love shows up. It is felt. It is lived. And if you don't feel it, don't settle for guessing. You deserve a love that is clear, a love that doesn't run, a love that doesn't hide behind vague words. You deserve an I love you without hesitation, and I want to be with you that is proven through action, and I'm here that actually means something. And if you feel that he's already with another woman, even if he doesn't say it, even if he denies it, even if he looks you in the eyes and swears it isn't true, trust what you feel. You don't need proof. You don't need outside confirmation. You don't need a confession. Your intuition already knows. When someone no longer wants to be with you, they don't always say it directly. Sometimes they pretend everything's fine, but deep down, they've already left. And that's the cruelest part, that he stays physically, even though his soul is already gone. Sometimes he's already with another woman but hasn't left yet because you're still a safe place for him, an emotional comfort zone he leans on while exploring something new. And that hurts, because you become a shadow of yourself, an option, not a choice. Someone who has already chosen someone else begins justifying their change in behavior. He speaks in vague phrases, uses lines like, "I just don't feel the same. I need to figure things out. I don't know if I'm ready for a relationship." But he's ready to send secret messages. He's ready to meet someone else while you're stuck on pause. It's hard to say out loud, but even harder to stay inside a lie. Harder to hold on to something that no longer has ground. You must always remember this. You're not here to wait for someone to sort out their confusion while you slowly destroy yourself trying to understand him. When someone has left the relationship emotionally, everything he says is just a delay of the inevitable, a way to avoid looking like the bad guy. But in doing so, he traps you in a half-truth. And you don't need half-truths. You deserve the full truth, no matter how painful, because a painful truth is healthier than a sweet lie. And do you know how you'll know he's already with someone else, even if he doesn't say it? By his emotional absence, his impatience, the way he gets irritated by small things, the way he no longer listens attentively, the way he forgets things that matter to you, the way he becomes careless with the details he used to notice, and above all, the way he looks at you without really seeing you, with an emotional distance disguised as routine, and you feel it. Of course you do, but you don't ask questions, or if you do, he avoids them, and you stay silent, because deep down, you already know the answer, but you're not ready to hear it out loud. But you must find the courage to say, "If you're not here anymore, tell me. If you're already with someone else, don't hold on to me. If your heart is somewhere else, don't leave me in a place where there's no room for me anymore." Sometimes it's not about whether he loves you, it's about whether he has the courage to be honest. And not everyone has that courage. And many would rather keep you as an option than lose you completely. And so you stay hoping he'll go back to who he used to be. But that version of him is gone. He changed, and it wasn't by accident, it was a choice. Because the moment someone starts to be interested in another person, starts dreaming of someone else, starts allowing feelings to grow for another, they're making a conscious decision to move away from you. Even if he doesn't say it, even if he never admits it, you don't need a confession to know you're no longer in his heart. It's enough to pay attention to the tone he uses with you, the lack of interest, the missing excitement, the way suddenly everything about you seems to bother him. You are not the problem. You never were. He's simply no longer there. Sometimes there are no clear villains, only painful realities, but that doesn't mean you have to stay in an empty story. You're not obligated to hold on to something he's already let go of. You don't have to stay loyal to a memory. Memories don't build the present, let alone a future. Stop holding on to a maybe. Stop hurting yourself while waiting for explanations that will never come. Don't postpone your dignity out of fear of ending a chapter. He may have many reasons, but none of them justify treating you like emotional leftovers. No excuse, no matter how sweet, will do you any good if there's no honesty. And if he has chosen someone else, then now you get to choose yourself. Even if it hurts, even if it feels like defeat, even if it feels like the air is being pulled from your lungs, this is not the end. It's the beginning of something new, something healthier, something that truly includes you this time. There are moments when something shifts, and you feel it, even if you can't explain it. You don't know if it was a look, a gesture, or a long silence. You just know it's not the same anymore. It feels different. Something is in the air. And as much as you want everything to still be okay, it's not. The tone of his words changes. His replies come later. His interest becomes inconsistent. The excuses pile up, more than the hugs. And that's your sign. Not just what he says, but what he no longer says. How he pulls away without moving. And then come the phrases, "I'm tired. I don't want to talk right now. You're overreacting. I don't want to fight. I have too much stress at work." And yes, sometimes it's true. But when it becomes a pattern, when there's no desire to share the good or the bad, when there's no curiosity about you anymore, when your feelings become a burden, then he's already elsewhere, emotionally and sometimes physically too. Because yes, many are already with another woman, but won't say it. Not out of respect, but out of convenience. They want the new without letting go of the familiar. And you stay trapped in this transition, becoming the bridge between what was and what will never be again. I saw this happen to someone who wrote to me some time ago. Let me tell you her story. Her name was Clara. She was 32 years old. She had been with Julian for 5 years, a stable relationship. They traveled, laughed, made plans. But one day, everything began to shift. Julian started coming home later from work, stopped texting during the day, didn't want to video call when he was away. And when Clara asked if something was wrong, he always said the same. "You're too sensitive, everything's fine, I'm just tired. Please don't make a drama." Clara began to doubt herself. She stared at herself longer in the mirror, tried harder to please him, cooked for him, left him little notes, invited him out. But he only grew colder, more distant. Until one day she happened to see a notification on his phone. It was from a woman Clara didn't know. A short but clear message. "I can't wait to see you again." She didn't say anything that night. But the next day, her voice trembling, she asked, "Are you with someone else?" Julian paused for a moment, then said, "No, but I think I need some time. I don't feel the same with you anymore." And there it was, the one phrase that changes everything. It doesn't say it all directly, but it says enough. Clara didn't scream. She didn't cry in front of him. She just nodded and left. Later she wrote to me, "I felt shattered, but also free. Because I finally understood that I wasn't the one who lost something. He did. He let go of something he'll never find again. My loyalty, my love, my truth." Clara never went back to him. And, with time, she blossomed again, as so many do. Wounded, yes, but with dignity. And her story isn't unique. It happens every day. Because many people lack the courage to say they no longer love, but are still willing to hurt in silence. To stay without love is to lie with your presence. And no one deserves to be lied to like that. No one deserves to be part of a relationship where the other person is already writing a new story. No one deserves a ghost relationship. True love doesn't hide. It doesn't run away from conversations about commitment. It doesn't retreat behind excuses. True love stays. It chooses you. It cares. So if you're going through something similar to Clara, don't silence your intuition. Don't ignore the signs. Don't make excuses for him, because someone who stays out of pity doesn't love. Someone who stays out of habit doesn't choose. And someone who truly loves you doesn't confuse you. Love is not a riddle. Love is not a late-night mental puzzle. Love shouldn't hurt every day. And if it does, then it's time to ask yourself one question. Where am I in this story? If the answer is, I'm waiting for him to decide, then it's time for you to decide, because you deserve more, so much more. Sometimes you don't need proof, just yourself. There are moments when the bravest thing you can do is to stop asking, stop hoping, stop searching for signs, and simply accept what's already clear. Because when someone changes emotionally, when they try to pretend everything is the same, there's one thing they can't hide: their eyes. The way they look at you, the way they stop touching you, the way they no longer listen. All of that is language, a language without words, but still a language. And if you're not careful, you'll stay stuck in a phase where you blame yourself, where you believe that everything would be fine If only you were more understanding, less intense, more relaxed. But that's not true, because when someone has already left emotionally, there's nothing you can do to hold the connection together. That connection no longer exists. And yes, it hurts. Of course it hurts. It hurts to realize there's no way back, that what was will never be again, that the man who once told you you were everything now says the exact same words to someone else. Sometimes that's the most painful part, knowing that the words he once said to you, he's now saying to someone else, as if his words never carried any weight, as if you were just an emotional trial run. But you weren't. You were not a mistake, not a stepping stone, not a temporary phase. You were someone who loved with truth, and that is never insignificant, even if he didn't appreciate it, even if he left without a word, even if he's now with someone else pretending he never felt what was so real to you. None of that erases your truth, your capacity to love, your devotion, your humanity. The problem wasn't the love. The problem was holding on to a love that was no longer returned, a love that no longer breathed with you, a love that had already begun to suffocate in indifference. And I know how hard it is to let go. Sometimes it hurts more to let go of a almost than a clear ending, because almost feels like a missed chance, like a promise never kept, like a hug that stopped halfway. But no one can survive on broken promises, no one can build on absence, no one can bloom in an emotional desert. And when he starts using those typical phrases as a shield, I'm confused. I need to find myself. I just want to be alone. But you know he's already talking to someone else, seeing her, dreaming of her. That's not confusion, that's a decision. He just doesn't say it because he doesn't want to be responsible for your pain, because he doesn't want to face his own cowardice, because he doesn't want to give up the comfort you still offer him. And you stay there, waiting, hoping he'll come back, that the new thing will overwhelm him, that he'll realize what he had with you. But that's self-sabotage. If you're hoping someone returns out of exhaustion, you're accepting the role of Plan B. And that's not who you are, that's never who you were, that's never who you will be. Sometimes it's better to close the door than to sit in front of it, hoping someone will return who's already walked away and shut it behind them. And no, that's not pride, that's dignity. Pride wounds, dignity protects. Dignity is the boundary that keeps you from returning to places where you were hurt. That voice inside that says, that's enough. You gave it your all. Now it's time to gather what's left of you and rebuild. It's not your fault if he no longer chooses you. It's not your fault if he prefers something new over something deep. It's not your fault if he couldn't recognize the value of what he was holding. You did your part, and that's enough. Now it's time to let go. Not so he'll come back, but so you can return to yourself, so you can find your center again, so you can face forward without fear, without resentment, without invisible chains. Because no one deserves to have their heart broken and still be expected to carry it quietly. You have the right to heal, the right to end the cycle even without all the answers, the right to move forward without understanding why he's no longer there. And once you do, you'll realize this pain was part of your transformation, not your defeat. There's something no one teaches you: how to let go of someone you still love, how to release something you still feel, even when you know it's no longer good for you. And it's not because there's no love left. Sometimes love is still there, but it's not enough, because to carry a relationship, you need more than love. You need honesty, presence, commitment, and reciprocity. And if he's already with someone else, the relationship is over, no matter how much love you still feel. You can't love for two. You can't build something on his absence. You can't carry the story alone. It takes immense strength to say, I love you, but I won't stay where I'm being hurt. I love you, but I won't stay where I'm no longer chosen. I love you, but I love myself more. That's not selfishness. That's emotional health. That's maturity. Because if someone is already emotionally somewhere else and you feel it and still stay, you're putting yourself last. And no one who truly loves themselves should place themselves at the bottom of their own priority list. You ask yourself, How do I move on? How do I let go of something that meant so much to me? I understand. It's not easy, but the moment will come when you realize that waiting hurts more than the truth. And that's when the shift begins, not when he confesses, not when you catch him, but when you stop making excuses, when you stop saying, he's just confused, he needs time, he'll come around, and instead start saying, he doesn't love me like he used to. I'm no longer part of his life. He's already made his decision, even if he won't say it. That's a painful but powerful moment. Because something inside you wakes up. A part that's been silent out of fear. A part that begins to rebuild from the wreckage. And that's where your new beginning starts. You won't start over loudly. Not through revenge, not through drama, but in silence, from your center, from your calm, from that place where you no longer need him to breathe. There's a quote that says, "It better than I could." When you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what the storm is all about. Haruki Murakami. And that's exactly what you're going through right now. A storm. But it's not the end of your world. It's the beginning of your transformation. You will get through it. Maybe with scars, but stronger, clearer, more rooted in yourself. And that's what matters, returning to you, to your center, to your voice. You no longer need to understand why he chose someone else. That's part of his path, his shadow, his story. It has nothing to do with you, but with what he couldn't hold, what he didn't want to face, with the part of himself he still lacked the courage to look at. It's not your job to heal him, wait for him, or convince him of your worth. Whoever doesn't see your light doesn't deserve to walk beside you. And someone who has already chosen a different story is no longer part of yours. Now, all that remains is to look forward, not to forget, not to deny what you felt, but to honor what you gave, and to close this chapter with love, without going back, because going back would mean betraying yourself. And you've already given too much, cried too much, waited longer than you should have. It's time. Time to close the door. Not with anger, not with hate, but with peace. Because even what wasn't meant to be still teaches, frees, and heals. There comes a point when it's no longer about him, it's about you, about what you're willing to accept, allow, and carry. Because if someone starts letting go of you silently, you have the right to let go consciously. That is emotional maturity. You don't need him to say he's with someone else in order to heal. You just need to stop lying to yourself. Because truth doesn't always come through words. Sometimes it shows through behavior, through emptiness, through that subtle shift you ignored at first and later couldn't unsee. And somewhere in the middle you have to choose. Choose whether you'll keep waiting or take a step toward yourself, a step toward inner peace. Because yes, love should bring peace, not fear, not restlessness, not sleepless nights. If you're spending your nights wondering why he no longer writes like he used to, checking his profiles for clues, living in doubt, suspicion, and disappointment, something's wrong, and you know it, even if you pretend otherwise, even if you downplay it in front of others, even if you're still holding on to hope that it's just a phase, but it's not. When someone is already connected to another woman while still being with you, it shows most clearly in indifference. That feeling that there's no connection anymore, that you're speaking to someone who only replies out of obligation, that he's physically present, but his energy is somewhere else, and it drains you because you're trying to hold together something that no longer has a foundation, because you feel like everything depends on you. But you can't carry a relationship alone, especially one that no longer exists. And yes, it hurts. Much more than others often understand. Because this isn't just a normal goodbye, it's like an invisible death. A silent disappearance, a leaving without a suitcase. And yet, you stay, trying to save it, trying to bring him back, even though he doesn't even know if he wants to return. And that's where you lose yourself. You fade. You erase yourself. And no one is worth erasing yourself for. That's not love, if it costs you your self-worth. That's not love if it steals your smile. That's not love if it leaves you empty. A healthy relationship supports you, helps you bloom, connects you to your best self. And when that breaks, when he's already emotionally with someone else, you feel it in how you forget who you are. You don't laugh like you used to. You don't dream like you used to. You no longer feel alive, creative, open. And that's not a coincidence. Emotional pain drains you. And when you live in waiting mode, your soul freezes. But you weren't born into this world to wait at a door someone refuses to open. You're not here to hear maybe while he wavers between you and someone else. You are not a dilemma. You are not a second option. You are a certainty for someone who is ready. Maybe today you feel powerless. Maybe you think you'll never get through this. Maybe even breathing hurts. And that's okay, because healing is not a straight line. Ending cycles doesn't happen overnight. Stopping love isn't a switch you flip, but the day will come when you wake up and no longer think about him. When you stop checking your phone, hoping he's written. When you stop wondering who he's with. And that day won't come because he changed, but because you woke up. Because you remembered who you were before someone made you feel small. Before someone made you question your worth. Before you mistook absence for love. And when that moment comes, you won't want to look back. You won't want to return to someone who doubted you, who replaced you without blinking, who didn't have the courage to be honest. Because it's one thing for love to end, it's another when respect ends. And if there's one thing you always deserve, it's respect. There's something we struggle to accept. Sometimes we don't need to end with anger, but with clarity. Not every goodbye needs noise. Sometimes it just happens, and you see it in his eyes, in the way he no longer seeks you, in the way he talks to you like you're just anyone, not the chosen one, not the partner, just someone left behind halfway. And you, with a lump in your throat, try to understand what happened when everything changed, when you became invisible to him, and you start believing you did something wrong, that you weren't enough, that something was missing in you for him to stay. But no, sometimes it's not about you, sometimes it's about him. Because there are people who get tired of the good, who get bored with stability, who mistake healthy love for routine, and who chase the new, even though they can't hold that either. I remember Camilla. She was 35, a brilliant, deep, generous woman. She was with Andres for 6 years. A relationship that seemed solid at first. She admired him, supported him. They built an apartment together, a business, a life. But one day, Andres began to change. It started with small things, a delay without a message, a phone always on silent, an "I'm busy" that came more and more often. At first, Camilla suspected nothing. She believed in him. She knew him, or so she thought. But her body started feeling what her mind didn't want to accept. She couldn't sleep well. She dreamed of losing him. She felt fear every time he went out and didn't reply. One night, while he was sleeping deeply, something inside her pushed her to check his phone. It wasn't distrust, it was instinct, intuition. And there it was. A conversation with another woman. Tender messages, photos, plans, sentences he once said to her. Her world collapsed, literally. She told me she felt her soul break. She didn't make a scene, didn't scream. The next day, she just looked at him and said, "I know." He didn't deny it, didn't explain, just lowered his gaze. And in that silence, Camilla understood everything. Not just the betrayal, but the emotional distance she had felt for so long. The indifference she had normalized, the coldness she had accepted as a phase. She told me something I'll never forget. It didn't hurt that he was with someone else. It hurt that I lied to myself for so long just to avoid seeing what had been obvious all along. In time, Camilla healed, rebuilt herself. Not immediately. She had hard nights, of course, but one day she woke up and didn't cry anymore. She didn't miss him. She didn't need him. Today she lives alone, in peace. She didn't become cynical. She didn't close her heart. She just learned not to doubt her intuition anymore. She understood. If something hurts every day, it's not love. And that's what many don't understand. True love doesn't make you beg. It doesn't put you on hold. It doesn't make you feel replaceable. Someone who truly loves you doesn't play with your wounds, doesn't play with your emotional stability, doesn't make you compete with another woman for his attention, because if you're already fighting for it, you've already lost. Not because you're not worthy, but because real love is not a competition. It's a daily, conscious, clear choice. If he's chosen someone else, don't insist. Don't ask for explanations you'll never receive. Don't chase a broken version of what you once had. You don't need to win. You don't need to prove anything. The only thing you need to do is turn toward yourself, come back to yourself. Remember, because you don't need to convince anyone to stay. The one who wants to stay, stays. The one who loves, cares. The one who feels, shows it. And the one who doesn't show it is already gone. Even if he walks through the same door, even if he still sleeps in the same bed, even if he still looks at you with empty eyes, when someone no longer vibrates on your frequency, you feel it. And if someone has already given themselves to another story, there is no way to hold on to what has already died. And most importantly, you don't need closure from him. Closure doesn't come from the one who leaves, it comes from the one who stays and chooses to move forward. Who chooses not to get lost in unanswered questions, broken promises, and the emptiness disguised as closeness. Who chooses to honor her own love, her own truth, her own path. Because in the end, there's only one person who will walk with you for a lifetime, yourself. And you deserve to walk that path with love, with respect, and with light. If any of this echoed inside you today, if you felt a lump in your throat, if you saw yourself in a part of this story, don't worry. That's not weakness. That's a sign you're alive, that you still feel, that your soul is awake. And a woman who is awake, even if she's hurting, is always being reborn. And when she is reborn, she no longer accepts halves. She no longer stays silent about what hurts. She no longer remains where she doesn't bloom, because she finally understands her worth is non-negotiable. Never again.